Today I am testing out the DJI Mic 2, along with sharing something that's been on my mind about prioritizing fun and creativity without turning it into a chore. I'm going to talk about the mic in more detail at some point, but this is just going to be an audio test and my first impressions. This microphone was recently released and I've liked the sound of the original DJI mic when I've seen some other creators using it. So I bought the Mic 2 hopefully to improve the audio here on my channel. Previously, I've been using this wired Movo lavalier mic that I have on now as well, recording into my phone. It is a $10 lav, so the sound isn't amazing. I also have a Movo and Rode shotgun mic, which I normally plug into the cameras, but they're really just scratch audio because they're a few feet away. I'll switch back and forth a bit in this video so you get an idea of how the different mics sound, and I'll share my impressions at the end. The microphone that I am using and information about it like volume, EQ settings, and its distance from my mouth will all be displayed on the screen throughout. Okay, so let's record some audio with this mic, the old mic, and maybe a shotgun mic for reference. I've seen some reviews comparing it with the camera's internal audio, and I think that this is a ridiculous test, so I'm not doing that. You should at least spend $10 for one of these lav mics. It sounds way better than the internal mics in the camera by itself, and it really doesn't sound that good. I'm also going to move over to my other set here and try it out a bit. I'm Emmett, and professionally I'm a software developer, but in my free time I love making YouTube videos about landscape photography, photo editing, photography gear, and more. Thank you so much for watching, and now let's get back to the video with more details. Hey guys, jumping in here after editing this a bit with a couple of notes. First of all, I'm not convinced that I totally like my EQ settings for the DJI mic, so I'm probably going to try to revisit that at some point, but I need to learn more about audio processing first. I definitely think it sounds better than the mic I was using before though. It just sounds a bit more sort of muddy and flat than what I might like. The second thing though is that for these videos here in the studio, I don't necessarily need to use that built-in mic because one party piece of the DJI mic transmitter is that it can also act as a transmitter for another mic that is plugged into it, which is what I have right now. I've set up the Movo VXR10-PRO on a stand here close to my mouth where it can get the best sound. I like the way that the Movo mic sounds more than any other mics that I currently have, but it's really most effective when it is close by. When I do this, the mic is in frame, but I also think that it sounds a lot better. So you'll have to let me know whether you want the mic hidden out of frame or you want that bit better audio. We'll get back to the video now. I just wanted to give you that info and drop this one other audio sample in here. This is the first time that I've used this second set, if you can call it that. It's actually just my houseplant collection next to the desk where I've made all of my other videos. I have, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 houseplants here. And so I thought this would be a good place to film some videos for things like this one where I'm just sharing my thoughts. Briefly, I want to revisit an idea that has been something of a theme during my photo shoots, valuing the process, not the results in your hobbies, with the goal of committing to spending time on hobbies without turning them into a chore. Here's why. Last year, I talked about some changes I wanted to make to the videos that I put out here on YouTube, and one of those things was to focus on the quality of the videos rather than the quantity, especially because making videos really is just a hobby. In the prior year, I had become a bit burned out on YouTube because I felt the need to produce one video per week, making the hobby a bit of a chore and often resulting in me releasing videos without implementing all of my creative ideas. As a result, I released a lot of videos that weren't very impactful just because it was another week and I needed another video. Because of my frustration with that, I decided to only release a video when I felt like I had done my best and not just good enough. This came with the acknowledgement that it would mean putting a lot more time into a given video, and as a result, videos would be released less often. But it was my intention to still release them rather than completely abandon my channel for a year. To be clear, some life events did very much get in the way of video production. But I do think another issue over the past year was that without the product output metric, I stopped monitoring whether I had engaged in my hobbies and lost that commitment not just to the schedule, but also to having fun with it. So at the core of this idea is balance. And I want to be really practical about that. You hear people say all the time that they need to have balance in their life, but no one seems to transfer that from an idea to an action. Life divides into three main categories: work, relationships, and hobbies. And we typically prioritize the first two by necessity, often cutting hobbies from the balance entirely. I started YouTube in hopes that an output requirement would put more weight on the hobby side of the scale, but found instead that it just slid into the work category and self-care turned into stress. The trick is prioritizing hobbies while keeping them hobbies, and the key is shifting focus from a product and deadline to a minimum time spent. Normally the focus, at least in American society, is that this task needs to be completed by this time. But a hobby isn't about being productive, it's about embracing the joy of the activity. Instead of committing to output, I'm committing to dedicating time to my hobby. In my case, instead of a weekly video, a project which could vary in length and be rushed, I'm blocking off 4 hours a week to work on videos. Recently, I spent the whole time creating artistic montages for a tiny fraction of the video, and that's completely fine. The key is that I enjoyed my hobby at my own pace. If you've been struggling to make time for your hobbies or keep them from becoming chores, I hope this inspires you to try what I am of dedicating a reasonable amount of time to your hobby and not worrying about how much gets done in that time. The process, not the output. Shifting gears back to the microphone, you've now heard some audio from it in a normal talking head video, both straight from the mic and with some audio processing applied. That processing is just things that anyone could do, save, and apply to other videos. I spent an hour or two on it the other day, and I don't anticipate doing anything more in the future than just applying that setting. I would say that this mic produces a flatter tone out of the mic than some other mics that I've heard, but there's plenty of data in the recording to easily make it sound how you want. If you don't edit your audio, it might not be a good fit, but if you do, then that flat response really doesn't matter and even could be a positive. My main priority was to get better sounding audio easily, and I think this does that. I am definitely not someone who knows a lot about audio, although I have been trying to learn some recently, but even so, I found the system to be very easy to use after looking up a few things on the internet. I haven't had to fuss around with connecting things or changing too many settings. All I've done is turn the low cut filter off, set the gains, and EQ things in Final Cut Pro, all of which are just set and forget. There will be more content with this mic in the future. I definitely need to test it outdoors within the return window to make sure that it can handle wind and noisy environments like flowing water. And if it interests you, I will make a review as well. But otherwise, that is all for today. I would love to hear your thoughts about the mic down in the comments, what you think of the sound, and also if you're from somewhere other than America, whether in your culture there is more value on kind of the process of doing things or that actual outcome and result. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.